from Ally McConnell about her work with the MV Shellfish Group. I just went on a tour of your shellfish hatchery was it last weekend, 2 weekends ago at the Martha's Vineyard. What was that with? I can't remember now. That
Oh,
was
the
MV
Conservation Society.
Conservation Society. That's it. Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
on the walk,
really
but do you
excited
think
about
I
that.
could?
Yes,
I
I saw you there,
walk.
Michael.
Okay. I couldn't get down those steps to the,
No, that would have been a climb.
it didn't work well, that part, but otherwise it was great.
Yep. All right, explain to us what your part in all this is.
So can I share my screen?
Yep, I think Sherry can help you do that.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen. I've never done this before. Bear with me. Okay, I don't think my computer is actually gonna allow me to. Which is a little bit of a bummer because I had a PowerPoint for you guys. Shoot.
Go to the bottom of your Zoom screen. There's a line of things, one of which is share screen.
Yeah, it's something with my computer.
Huh. Can you change computers?
There's like caution signs.
Huh.
I actually cannot. My other computer doesn't have sound.
Okay.
Maybe I could share this PowerPoint with you, Sherry, afterwards, and you could send it to everybody.
You could send it to me now and I could put it up and you can tell me when to advance. Will that help?
Yes, that would be great because I have a lot of pictures and stuff that I want to show you guys.
Oh yeah, some of the pictures you took that were on Instagram were awesome. Okay. So I don't know if somebody wants to do a song or dance while we put this up. That's great. If you have any other messages or what you're up to, Richard, take it away. Allie and I are going to work on this.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
All right. Does anybody have any updates on any of the activities in the different organizations? I know it's not that time of year to be out there on the water.
I actually have something to tell you about what TWI is doing.
Oh, great, Melinda. Go ahead.
We've inaugurated an Adopt a Drain program in Tisbury. And this is a program that other towns and cities have across the country. It has to do with our local storm drains. And in Tisbury, there are 639 of them, all of which need to be cleaned and maintained in order to reduce flooding and help with keeping pollutants out of the waterways. So the town really, DPW can't keep up with that many, and some of them are kind of in out of the way places. So we are encouraging members of the public to adopt a drain, and we have on our website a map that shows where the drains are and where people can choose one, and their promises to, before or after a rainstorm, clean the debris off the top of the drain and keep it available to do its job. We started at the Tisbury School with the 7th grade classes because the science teachers are enthusiastic about incorporating units about water pollution into their curriculum. So in the paper this week, there may be an article about our first student and his first drain adopted. So just for public information, we're encouraging people in Tisbury to do that.
Well, that's a great idea. I've got a couple on my street that, like, as you say, the town doesn't have time to keep up with them. And I try to do it when I notice that they're clogged up.
Yeah.
So it's not that difficult, especially if you stay at top of it and don't let it get too bad.
Right. We're avoiding the main drains and, like 5 corners and things like that. We don't want people out there doing those, and the town takes good care of those. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, thank you.
That's a great program. Thank you. That's great. And it's great that the science teacher there at the Tisbury School is taking this on and trying to educate these kids about how important this stuff is.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything they want to share? Up, I see Liz Durkee's hand up.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to let everyone know that we got a grant from the Mass Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program this year to do several things related to the land and water. We're updating the vegetation map for the island, and we're with the shellfish group's help mapping the eelgrass in 3 of the Down Island ponds to help identify potential aquaculture sites. And we, Sakiko Isamichi, who's a Vision Fellow at Biodiversity Works, is holding focus groups with landscapers and nursery owners and landscape designers to talk about the challenges and the barriers to using native plants and to reducing lawn size. And all of this is going to coalesce in the Climate Action Fair next May, which the theme of which is going to be resilient landscapes. So it's kind of a year-long project and it's going well.
That's fantastic. Yes, people have to stop having these lawns that look like they're plastic. They're so perfect, with no leaves on
Yep.
them. There's never any leaves on them. Every day it's like, come on, guys. Leaves are good for you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I can share on behalf of
Okay.
the Center for Coastal Studies.
That'd be great, Molly.
Oh, great. Yeah, so I'm here in place of Agnes, who does the benthic invertebrates at the center up in Provincetown, and Owen Nichols, who does the marine fisheries research. And Agnes Mittermeier recently became the new PI/holder of seagrass samples that have been collected internationally since 2001. And so we're really excited that this event/talk was happening to make more connections with people that are actively studying eelgrass in the area. So yeah, thank you so much for hosting this. And those samples that we have are through Seagrass Net, which I'd be happy to share information with y'all afterwards about it. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Yes, we've been having an issue with eelgrass disappearing. Okay, I see that's this shared screen. That's a good sign.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's all right. It's not your fault.
I should have figured that out yesterday. Okay, Sherry, am I good to go?
Where's Sherry? You muted?
Yeah. I can see you and your slides, so.
Okay, I'm gonna assume that I can go. And then Sherry, you can click for me when I need to. So my name is Allie McConnell. I'm the restoration coordinator at the MV Shellfish Group. I like to call myself the shellfish habitat lady here. I'm in charge of our shell recycling program for oyster habitat restoration, as well as our eelgrass propagation and restoration program for bay scallop habitat. I've been working here since 2019, and we've made a lot of great headway. Myself and our director of the Shellfish Group, Emma Greenbeach, we've kind of been tag teaming this facet of this little corner of what the Shellfish Group does together. And yeah, excited to share with you guys a little timeline of where we've come from and where we're going and what we're doing right now in the ponds. Sherry, you want to go to the next one? So just to explain really quickly why we're doing eelgrass restoration here at the Shellfish Group. So the primary thing that we do here is we grow 3 kinds of shellfish seed: quahogs, oysters, and bay scallops, and we distribute them evenly among the towns, the island towns. We grow 20 to 25 million bay scallop seed every year. And their preferred habitat, as most or some of you might know, is eelgrass. Juvenile bay scallops need it when they're young to avoid predators like crabs and whelks, anything that wants to eat them. And they also cling to the blades higher up in the canopy to help gain more access to food. So eelgrass really helps bay scallops thrive. It keeps them safe. It helps them eat more efficiently. So that's the primary reason why we're doing eelgrass restoration at the Shellfish Group. It's for all of the bay scallops that we grow and put back into the water every year. If they don't have any habitat, then not nearly as many of them can come into fruition as we would like. And aside from that, eelgrass also provides a plethora of ecosystem services for its given environment. It does something good for the environment with every part of its body. It helps dampen wave action to help mitigate coastal erosion with its long flowing blades. It plays a really important role in nutrient cycling with multiple parts of its body. It reduces turbidity, it accumulates silt and holds sediment in place. So overall, it's just a powerhouse of a plant that our coastal environment really needs. And I like to use the analogy, it's kind of like our coastal environment's lungs. It just helps everything go on. And yeah, it just does a lot of really good things for the environment. And without eelgrass, there are negative cascading effects. Too much nitrogen that's not being cycled and like used by other organisms because it's not in usable forms. High turbidity, murkier water, things like that. So eelgrass is a really important natural resource to us for the bay scallops and for all of these other reasons that I just named. You can go next. So we started doing eelgrass restoration our director Emma started in 2018, a year before I got here. If you guys ever go to Menemsha or we're walking on the beach, there's lots of flotsam eelgrass that's been uprooted. There's a lot of like brown dying stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's just the blade. But if you look closely, there are individual eelgrass blades with intact bodies, aka they have a healthy green blade and a rhizome, which is an underground modified stem, and they have roots. So Emma started collecting these eelgrass individuals with intact bodies, and she was messing around with replanting them in sand pots in the hatchery. And she found that they actually do take hold again and start growing again. So this was an awesome, like untapped resource that she figured out. Typical restoration methods call for transplanting from a donor meadow. But that's very time and energy consuming. So this is a great passive alternate way that we can collect eelgrass and reintroduce it into the environment once again, just collecting it from harbors and beaches, rehabilitating it in the hatchery, and then planting it back out into the ponds when we can. We started with planting things back out into the ponds in these little biodegradable pots that you can see in the top right picture. And we have a modified quahog raft filled with sand that we have as our experimental site in Lagoon Pond. This has been a great collaboration with the Tisbury Shellfish Constable, Danielle Ewert. So that's where we started. We started with this like quahog sand raft, just seeing how eelgrass does when it's put back into the environment. And we started with the lagoon because it's close to our two hatcheries, one, and two, we've seen the most drastic change in terms of eelgrass in this pond. So we're really interested in trying to figure out how to bring eelgrass back to Lagoon Pond tenfold, like how it used to be. You can go next. So we've made a lot of headway. So this was 2019 or so when we started. Now we're coming into 2024. Not only do we collect vegetative shoots from harbors and beaches, I have a little band of volunteers that help me do that, which has been great. But we're also collecting seeds now. Every year annually, eelgrass flowers. At this latitude, it flowers starts flowering in like late May, and then they're fertilized and start making seeds in like mid-June. So around mid-June, we can go out and collect seeds. And we're experimenting with germinating eelgrass from seed in the hatchery, which we have been successful with. We currently have a small little seagrass nursery with different year classes going on at the Hughes Hatchery, which is really exciting. And then the biggest thing that I'm most excited about is actually earlier this March, some of those eelgrass shoots that I germinated from seeds started to flower themselves in our greenhouse tank, which has never been achieved before in captivity. So that was just a really good pat on the back for me. Like I'm doing something right. I'm giving them the conditions that they want. They're happy and healthy in our care in the hatchery. And so that's just been really exciting. And we're trying to learn as much as we can from what we've found in that way. We're now experimenting as well with different methods of replanting eelgrass. So as I started learning more and more about eelgrass and how foundational it is to our coastal environment and how important it is for our shellfish, I decided that I wanted to go on a professional development journey and get a Martha's Vineyard Vision Fellowship. You can go to the next slide, Sherry. So I had this dream in my head. I was like, there's nobody who predominantly has their hand on the eelgrass pulse here on the vineyard. Everyone along the East Coast and the West Coast has like an eelgrass restoration program that's like well underway and things like that. And I really wanted that for the vineyard. And I thought that maybe I could be that person with all of these endeavors and things that Emma and I have been going on. So I applied for a Martha's Vineyard Vision Fellowship and I was awarded one in June. So what's going to be happening is over the next 2 years, I will be traveling periodically along the East Coast and meeting people who are facilitating eelgrass restoration in their area. And my goal is to learn as much as I can from these people and bring back effective methods here to the vineyard to implement in our salt ponds that need eelgrass restoration. It's been really interesting kind of piecing together what methods people use where, why they're using those methods, what sorts of water quality parameters they're dealing with, and like what method they go for. I don't want to reinvent the wheel in any way, shape, or form. I'm just trying to find what other people have found what works and bring it here. I essentially just would like to be a conduit for those effective methods and bring them here to the vineyard so we can try to bring eelgrass back. So this will be a 2-year endeavor. It kind of just started, but I've already been able to travel to Nantucket. The Nantucket Natural Resources Department hosted me for a day and showed me what they're doing. They have thriving, beautiful eelgrass. And I also got to visit Stony Brook University and Cornell Cooperative Extension on Long Island in July this year. And then just a few weeks ago, I also went to the Chesapeake Bay area where I was hosted by the Nature Conservancy. That's where I am in the top right picture. That's Bo Lusk, who's a marine biologist for the Virginia Nature Conservancy. And then I was also hosted by the Virginia Institute of Marine Science, which is the bottom picture. PhD student, Allie Hall, hosted me for the day. And that's a picture of her showing me how to do a seed viability test. And to determine how her population of collected seeds is faring. So I've learned a lot. It's been really fun piecing together what other people along the East Coast are doing, and just the few places that I've visited so far has inspired a project that I have just implemented into Lagoon Pond that I would like to share with you guys. If you want to go to the next page, Sherry. So, in collaboration with the Oak Bluffs Shellfish Department, Marco Petricone and Donovan McElligat, they have helped me establish this eelgrass restoration site where I can do bottom planting. So this quahog raft has been great on the Tisbury side of Lagoon Pond, but I was getting frustrated because I'm like, yeah, this is great that we get to experiment different methods, different ways to replant these shoots that we're rehabilitating, but it's not going to bring eelgrass back. We need to do some planting on the bottom environment. So one of my mentors for the fellowship, Phil Colarusso from the EPA, suggested this spot near the bridge. It has a sandy bottom environment. It has great flow from the bridge opening. The water quality is great. It doesn't get too shallow. It doesn't get too deep for stressed transplanted shoots. So for all those reasons, that's why we picked this area. It's also far enough away from the beach where we're not disturbing shellfishermen, clammers, or anything like that. I'm not trying to compete with shellfishermen at all in any way, shape, or form. I'm trying to help them bring back this awesome natural resource so they can have shellfish to fish. So yeah, that's where this site is. If you're driving over the bridge, you can see the buoys. We actually just switched the buoys out yesterday for winter sticks. So it might be a little harder to see, but it's there. And there is eelgrass in the ground. You can go to the next one, Sherry. So this is kind of what this is what I kind of dreamt up to do. There's 3 treatment groups. I wanted to look at, I really like using these flotsam shoots that we collect from harbors and beaches. I think it's a great resource for us. It's fun to go collect them. I have summer staff help me. I have volunteers help me. I just love doing that, and I love being able to reuse these materials. So I've been experimenting with figuring out what type of anchorage transplanted shoots may need to reestablish in this water body specifically, given its water quality, clarity, and flow dynamics. So the control group consists of just three shoots in a cluster just put into the ground. And then each treatment group gets a little bit more complex. I've been using 6-inch garden staples. So treatment 2 would be those same 3 shoots in a cluster shoved into the sand, but then held down with a garden staple. And treatment 3 and treatment 4 get a little bit more complex. I think you could go to the next one, Sherry. I think I get into a little more detail. Yeah, so this is how I envisioned it. 3 shoots in a cluster, and then C and D, these squares would be actually 10 eelgrass shoots woven into a burlap square, which I did not come up with. This was something awesome that I learned from Cornell Cooperative Extension when I was on Long Island. It was born there. It's called the tortilla method. And it was made up by Steve Schott and Chris Pickrell. This is something that they do in their Long Island waters, in their bays and stuff. And it seemed like a really effective, great method. So shoots without burlap in A and B, and then shoots with burlap in C and D. You could go to the next one, Sherry. Oh yeah, it took 4 days to plant. There's maybe 800 shoots that we planted. It took 4 different field days. Myself and 2 other divers helped me. Oh, that's another thing I didn't mention about the fellowship. So I was able to purchase scuba gear thanks to the fellowship, and eelgrass restoration is going to increase by leaps and bounds now that I have scuba gear and I can stay underwater and do meticulous things. So this is us with scuba gear, getting down there, replanting eelgrass. It took 4 days. Yep, 3 helpers. And I actually visited it just yesterday, and it's all still there, which is really exciting. It all looks really green and healthy, and it looks like it's taking hold. And there's even some scallops patriating the area, so I think they like it. You go to the next one. So yeah, this was my control group, just shoving 3 shoots in a cluster into the sand. This is called the horizontal rhizome method. This is the most typical replanting method, just 3 shoots in a cluster, strength in numbers kind of thing. 3 together kind of help hold each other in place as opposed to just planting 1 at a time. And I didn't give this group any type of anchorage, no garden staple, no burlap, no anything. I was anticipating that this group would wash away really quickly, but yesterday when I went to go look, they're still there, which is a little perplexing to me since we just had a crazy storm, but that's still pretty cool. You can go to the next one. So this is the garden staple, same thing, 3 shoots in a cluster, and then the rhizomes, that underground modified stem, are held into the sand with this garden staple. This was something that was suggested to me again by Phil Colarusso. He's done this before. And I bought garden staples that will rust and erode away over time. So using all biodegradable materials, things that will go away over time and will not be there forever. We're not trying to put plastic or anything crazy in the water. That just sounds more problematic. So yeah, this garden staple, you could go to the next one. So this is the tortilla method. Steve Schott and Chris Pickerel were kind enough to share this method with me, and it really works for them. They were also kind enough to even show me, they gave me a little demonstration of how to plant these little clusters back into the bottom environment. And they actually use a PVC disc as their shovel, which is so ingenious. I was like blown away, because you obviously can't dig a hole underwater because all the sand just falls back. So they shove this PVC disc into the sand, and kind of it gives it walls, and then you dig all of the sand out of the middle of the PVC disc and it makes a hole for you. I really like this method. I think it's great for a few reasons. One, I think it's the burlap simulates the dense root structure that natural eelgrass beds have. It's like an instant stand-in root structure. And again, strength in numbers. The burlap holds the shoots, it holds everything together, gives all of them more surface area, so they're less likely to wash away in this burlap square. They do a circle, which is why they call it the tortilla method, but I've just been doing squares and they work just as great, so that's why I'm saying square. So these were just, this treatment C group was just planted side by side, burlap squares, 10 shoots per square, side by side planted like this. And there's about 200 or so in this little square. You could go to the next one, Sherry. Oh, that's a picture of it. That's group C. after we planted everything. That's what it looks like right now. You could see all the fouling and stuff. That's still obviously an issue. But they look pretty great nonetheless. You can go to the next one. So this is treatment D. The last group is the same thing, 10 shoots in a burlap square, stapled into the ground with a garden staple, except I wanted to try this checkered pattern that I read in the literature from a project that came out of Boston Harbor. Instead of side-by-side burlap squares, leaving space in between. And the idea behind that is that as they take hold again and start growing again, they like having those gaps that they can like fill in between. So yeah, you can go to the next. So everything was officially planted into the bottom environment in the lagoon near the bridge. Our last planting day was November 4th of this year. And yeah, we went to go check on it the other day and everything still looks really great. I don't know why I took some pictures. I don't know why I didn't put them in here, but everything looks like it's doing really great. There's still some fouling, but they're growing nonetheless, which is so good to see. So we're just going to keep monitoring it once or twice a month, myself and the Oak Bluffs Shellfish Deputy, Marco, who's been my right-hand man in this project. And our goal is to find which method works best in this water body, given all the abiotic conditions, and reestablish eelgrass in this part of the lagoon. You could go next. If anybody would like to help me on this journey, I would love help with collecting shoots from harbors and beaches. I would love help with collecting seeds when that time comes in the summertime. And if you're dive certified, you can dive down with me and help me replant these things. That would be so helpful. It really will take a village to restore eelgrass. I'm just one person. It would be more efficient and more successful with more people helping. So yeah, if you guys would like to get involved, or if you guys have any other questions or concerns or anything like that, you guys can email me for sure, and I can get you guys on my little volunteer list that I have going. It's mostly just people from the Lagoon Pond Association right now, but I'm hoping to get a few more this year. I'm hoping to collect more seeds this year and do more seed broadcasting. Sherry Casso and Danielle Ewert actually found eelgrass in the lagoon a couple of months ago, which is really exciting. Right up at the head of the lagoon near the herring run, there is dense, luscious eelgrass growing up the OB side of the lagoon. So my plan is to, in collaboration with them, take care of that bed. Watch it, make sure it's doing okay, and then yeah, broadcast seeds over it to hopefully help that bed grow, which is really exciting. So yeah, if any of you guys would like to come along with me on this journey, I would gladly take your help.
Great, thank you. That was really great. Very informative. Do we have any questions out there?
There were some of the videos I was looking at showed a very healthy bottom. Some of them I assume were from the house where you're doing the planting. But is the bottom like that in lagoon? I mean, that clean?
Well, it depends where. Near the bridge, it's nice and sandy, which for transplanted stress shoots, clean coarse sediment is ideal. Like what Liz Durkee was saying, we are doing an eelgrass mapping project right now. So I've been the one doing the ground truthing, and putting the drop camera over the side of the boat. And there are some parts of the lagoon that are too deep for eelgrass. Eelgrass probably has never grown there, just because light availability issues. But yeah, there are areas in the lagoon where the sediment is non-anoxic and eelgrass, in theory, can grow.
Wonderful.
Anybody else?
Yeah, how large is each test site again? How much area do you cover?
So where we have our experimental quahog rafts, it's an acre. There's just 2 raft tables in an acre. But the bottom planting site is really small, actually. The whole thing is 30 feet by 30 feet. And that's purely just because it's just me and one other person who's able to plant. So I didn't want to bite off more than I could chew, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. No, this sounds really awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, when you plant the root down into the sand, how deep does that root go?
Just a few inches.
2 inches.
Initial planting. Yeah, just a couple inches under the sediment.
Okay. And I understand, you know, the need for the garden staples, but you talk about them, you know, rusting away. And the first thing that comes to my mind is when I was a kid, I was always stepping on nails. So, is this water shallow enough that it's going to be where people will be swimming or walking or say quahogging or something?
So I did take all of this into consideration. It's far enough out where there's a lot of kids that come swimming and playing around Brush Pond and stuff. It's more closer to Doug's Cove, and it's like pretty far out for somebody to swim.
Right.
It's pretty far out in the middle. There might be clammers, but it's very well marked off with Oak Bluff's Shellfish Department buoys. They're bright orange, and it's very clearly marked off.
So, by
That,
that was
Huh?
another question. So do you have signage explaining, you know, what's going on, and so people can be, you know, first of all, aware so they're not going to mess up the plants, but also not step on anything?
I think at the Lagoon Pond Landing, the Lagoon Pond Association has made a map, and the eelgrass restoration site is marked off. And then there is signage all over the buoys saying eelgrass experiment, Oak Bluff Shellfish Department. Yeah.
Okay. I think it'd be better to make it as clear as possible that you don't want people, you know, digging them up with a clam rake or something, or you know.
That's a
Is
good
it-
idea. Maybe I should put a sign on the beach, maybe at that parking lot at Doug's Cove, or like, yeah, that's a good idea. I should put some signage like on the beach over there.
Yeah, and you could also mention to people that you're looking for volunteers.
True, yes. I'm gonna write that down. Signage on the beach. Yeah, I mean, the last thing I would want is somebody to hurt their foot or anything. That's not the goal at all.
Yeah, no, it takes a while for those things to rust away, I'm sure. And how about the PVC cones? What happens to those?
Oh, that's just my shovel. It comes with me and it leaves with me.
Okay, so those don't get left in the ground, just
No,
the burlap stays and that breaks down.
burlap stays. It's made out of coconut husk. And it will go away over time, yes. No, the PVC disc is just my shovel. Every diver gets one and it's their tool. They bring it in, they bring it out.
Great, great. Anybody else got any questions? I don't see anybody raise their hand or speak up.
How
Here we go.
deep is the water where you're planting these?
At low tide, it's like 3 feet. At high tide, it's maybe 8 feet, 8.5.
You
So
mentioned that eelgrass reduces turbidity. Can you talk about how that works, please?
So established eelgrass beds, accumulate silt. So an established eelgrass bed is really silty and, that's because it accumulates the silt. I'm not really sure specifically how, but, dense beds with dense rhizomatic structures, hold silt in place.
Yeah, that makes good sense. Thank you.
But does it end up getting sort of burying itself? Or does it? It
Does
grows fast. It grows faster to stay ahead of it, right?
what?
Well, if it's filtering silt out, so sand or whatever's in the water, sand's gonna start to build up.
Yeah.
But the-
It holds sediment in place very well.
Yeah.
It lessens the movement of whatever given sediment bottom it's in greatly.
Right.
It's amazing that with that storm that we had and all that wind, that you didn't lose those beds. That's
I
incredible.
know. I think because the water was really high too, thank God. It was like an especially high tide that day, like all day. So I assume if it was a lower tide or if the water column was shallower, it maybe would have been different. But yeah, it's all still there, which is really exciting. Even the control group, I didn't hold anything down with those. I went on a boat, obviously, to go see it, and I couldn't see them at first, and I was like, no, they're all gone. And then I was like, wait, no, I'm blind. They're all there. It was really exciting.
Yeah, that was a long blow. It was a very unusual storm.
Yeah.
Did everybody see the pictures of South Beach and the erosion down there? Holy smokes.
Insane.
The sand movement is just
Wow.
scary. The island's probably 10, 15, 20 acres smaller than it was. Maybe more than that. John, I see your hand.
Hi, afternoon, everybody. Ali, really heartening presentation. Good stuff. I'm wondering, in your travels, was there anything that you were able to share with the sites that you visited, the 3 sites that you visited, that was new to them? And I'm also wondering, are there other sites elsewhere that you'd like to visit that you know are taking a different approach? And then thirdly, following up on Richard's point about the garden staples, if you're to take this, as it were, to scale and expand, I wonder if there isn't some other thing that could be used instead of the garden staples that might be kinder, as it were.
Yeah. So to answer your first question, the Shellfish Group is home to the first ever flowering eelgrass shoots in captivity. And people who I've visited along the East Coast have been pretty astounded with that. It's really hard to learn how to grow eelgrass indoors. And I had to figure out everything about what not to do before I figured out what to do correctly. So that has been something that people have been really interested in asking me about as I'm going on these visits, how I'm getting eelgrass to germinate from seed inside, what sorts of conditions am I giving it, how long am I waiting, just all of those kinds of things. There's a lot of, like VIMS, for example, and Stony Brook University have struggled with establishing an indoor seagrass nursery. And so they've been really curious about how I've been successful with that. And that's been really fun to share. That was a very exciting thing for me. I did it on accident. I was not doing it on purpose. The main thing we do here is grow shellfish seeds. So when I plant eelgrass, it's kind of left off to the side in its own tank. And I'm not meticulously tending to it every day or anything like that. And it was just totally a happy accident that people are really curious to hear about. Your second question, I plan on traveling to So Phil Colarusso, my mentor, he's been facilitating all these trips for me. These are all his colleagues. So he's been establishing an introduction for me and facilitating me meeting up with all of these people. He has some colleagues in Florida who have an established seagrass nursery with different species, though. I'm not sure if there's eelgrass in Florida, but there are different species of seagrass. There's halodouli, there's thalassia, there's syringodium, and there's a man at, I think, at Florida Atlantic University who has a strong little seagrass nursery growing. So I'm excited to meet him. I think that's going to be this coming spring. And then also I've established relationships with the people that I've met already. So I would like to go back to Long Island and help them with their restoration projects, put on my scuba gear, get in the water, see what they're doing. And same thing with VIMS. I don't know if I'll be going all the way down to Virginia again, but I have invited some people that I met there to come up here and help with eelgrass restoration here this coming summer. So that's just been great to establish a connection with other people along the East Coast who are facilitating eelgrass restoration, and also letting people know out there that Martha's Vineyard is also involved in this conversation now too. I'm sorry, I forget what your third question was.
Thank you. And it's very interesting what you just said. Just following up on Richard's point, going back to childhood memories of stepping on unpleasant things, whether a kinder, as it were, alternative to the garden stakes might be discovered and used, particularly if as you hope, as we all hope, this all goes to scale and you're doing it, over large areas to reduce risk.
I've heard people using bamboo skewers, just make a little fork out of bamboo. I don't know why I went for the garden staples first before that, to be honest. I think honestly, it was just an easy Amazon purchase. But bamboo skewers are a method that people have used, like wood, any wood that you can put a fork in, I'm sure would also work pretty well.
Yeah.
Right.
Michael.
Wonderful work, inspirational in some ways. Probably I won't be able to sleep for a while now. So I'm all revved up here. Have you mentioned scuba diving and things? The issue is, are you seeing growth, aggregate growth in the eelgrass right now? We're reducing the nitrogen concentration, and we've got it back, to what it was decades ago, many decades ago. We're wanting to look at like the amount of eelgrass is really the goal here. It's not denitrification is a hallmark. And the people who were doing this at the state level, they picked marketing, not nitrogen marketing, because they looked at where eelgrass grew and where it didn't. And they sort of challenged the people who cared about water quality and the health of the estuaries to get it there. In Lake Tashmoo, we had to remove around 32% of the input function, which was septic mostly, 85%. And we've done a good job at that, actually. We're started to think about whether or not we should begin to monitor eelgrass as a hallmark of health of the ponds. Your work is very interesting for that point of view, just in general. It never occurred to me that we could be farmers, eelgrass farmers, but I think it's almost cheating. We're looking at the effect of nitrogen, and you've turned it into a 2-variable experiment,
Yeah. Eelgrass is a really great indicator species for good water quality. I was really excited to hear from Sherry and Danielle that they found eelgrass in the head of the lagoon, because we were all thinking that this water body was gone more to crap than it actually was. So that's been really exciting. Yes, eelgrass is a very good indicator species for good water quality.
For a first time in a long time in Tisbury, we're seeing blue crabs. Are they a friend of eelgrass or not?
So eelgrass does not grow in Tisbury Great Pond, actually. Its overall conditions are just not conducive for that seagrass to grow. I do know that green crabs are an issue in eelgrass beds because they like to snip it. I'm
Yeah.
not sure about blue crabs.
This is
I-
in Lake Tashamu in Tisbury. It's not in the ponds. It has a some things in common. But we're going to try to use some monitoring marks to look at just the health, and that could be side scanning sonar or something like that to see if we can't get our arms around the whole thing. But in doing what we're thinking of doing, I'd like to be a friend. I'd like to sit down and see how we can help one another. Have you ever gone to the Provincetown Center, what used to be called the Provincetown Center of Coastal Studies? It sounds like you've been close to it.
I don't think I have, no.
I will tell you they're first rate internationally, actually. But they're and they have a biological lab that's quite large. And they have worked on the island. And all I'll say is there'd be someone who would be impressed with what you've done, and they might help also with new directions and things. Very powerful group.
Thank you. I would
They've
be
been
very
here.
glad to connect with you.
Well, I was hoping to develop a friendship here, so good.
Yes, that would be
I
fantastic.
think, frankly, you're, if I could be crass, you're an asset.
Oh, thank you. I care about this island a lot. I grew up coming here in the summertime. I figured out that I love the ocean from this place. And I think this place is largely beautiful because of its waters, and its waters are beautiful because of eelgrass. So we need to protect these things.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank
I,
you.
I just had another thought. Have you talked with any farmers, about the possibility of their thoughts on trying to plant things underwater? I
I
think
have not.
you might reach out to the Ag Society or somebody down at Morning Glory Farm. That they're really ahead of the ball down there, trying to be very environmentally conscious of what they do.
Yeah.
But they might have some thoughts.
We
Yep.
have connected with Island Grown Initiative.
That's another good one.
Our new education and outreach manager, Nina Montanil, she's trying to collab more with IGI, and one of the things that they were really interested in that we do is eelgrass restoration. So I would love nothing more than to have little kids helping me make those burlap squares, and I think that that's going to be happening more in 2024.
That's great. Thanks for all you do.
Yeah.
Kelly, you had the Boy Scouts come and help you with some of those squares, right?
We did. We had a small group of Boy Scouts come, and they helped me make squares that are out in the lagoon now.
Great.
That was a really great afternoon. Sherry, you were there too. Sherry's helped me make eelgrass squares. Yeah, it's a really fun communal thing to do. We can all sit around and weave eelgrass and talk about eelgrass, and then we're doing something good for the environment as well.
I see Greg's hand up.
I would guess that when you use staples, and especially when you use burlap, you can get away with planting the rhizomes at a shallower level. Is there any suggestion that the plants will grow faster when the rhizomes are shallow?
I'm not sure. I think naturally they tend to grow just right beneath the sediment. They grow horizontally underneath the sediment, and they're just like right there, a couple inches down. I don't think naturally they protrude very deeply. The roots do. The roots can go deeper, but the rhizome is just a modified stem that holds the grass just right underneath the sediment.
Yeah, I don't know to what extent one can extrapolate from what happens with land plants to aquatic plants, but typically you don't want to plant things too deep with land plants. That will definitely impair their growth and slow them down. But I just wondered if anyone had done any experimental work with depth of rhizomes and how fast the plants grow.
I've experimented a little bit in the hatchery with planting seeds in sand pots at different depths. And they germinate the best when they're just a few millimeters under the sediment. Anything deeper than like 4 millimeters, they won't really germinate.
Okay, anybody else have any thoughts they want to share or questions they want to ask? Well, it looks like we're running out of questions, Sherry. Thank you, Allie. That was fantastic. Best
Was
of luck.
Emily, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm happy I could share this with you all.
I just had another thought too. With the rising water temperatures and the ponds not freezing in the wintertime anymore, how's that affect the whole thing?
Well, so eelgrass does prefer to be cool as opposed to warmer. On the state level and in the New England area, my mentor, Phil from the EPA, he's in the works right now with facilitating a New England-wide common garden experiment to see if different populations are more heat tolerant, one versus the other. So yeah, that is a very relevant topic. And one of those experimental sites for a common garden experiment very well might be on the Vineyard in the coming years. So yeah, that is a concern for sure.
But another thing that your work may help with is permitting, getting, the state to quicken up the process of opening ponds up and dredging underneath bridges to keep the water moving and keep it clean.
Yep.
All right. Are we done? Anybody else have anything they want to talk about besides eelgrass? Oh, I see John's hand up.
I'll ask another eelgrass related question to Allie. I'm wondering if there's some sort of entity or alliance that might help beyond the academic network of your mentor in your networking and in broadcasting what you're doing. For example, I would guess that the TNC that TNC Virginia and so on are just part of the broader array of the large networks in Chesapeake Bay. For example, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation and others. And then, of course, there are the programs under the EPA to do with particular estuaries and so on. And whether there is a forum or whether there are fora within which you can communicate about your results, but also network to meet other people to share from one another.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'm not aware of too many other like non-university affiliated eelgrass restoration programs, but if anybody hears or knows of any organizations in the New England area facilitating eelgrass restoration, please, you have my email. Please put me in contact with them. That would be fantastic. I did have a suggestion from the Nature Conservancy in Virginia to get in contact with Massachusetts Nature Conservancy and have them help with seed collection and things like that. But also on the collaboration level, yeah, I think I'm a fan of strength in numbers, and I think just banding more heads together is gonna get us there quicker.
Yep.
So yeah, that is a very good idea.
Okay, anybody else? Not seeing anybody. All right, Sherry, is anything else you wanted to say?
I don't think so. Rachel's here. We're working with the 208 and we're starting to present to the boards of health. So we are moving right along. We've got the solutions, we're getting the contributions down, and now we are working on, sorry about the dog.
I thought it was your stomach rumbling.
Holy smokes. That was somebody talking.
I'm sorry, he's laying in the sun and he's very happy. And now we're working on the distribution and taking the solutions and tying it to the different watersheds. So it's pretty exciting. We're really getting someplace for that. So
Great.
And Allie, I would love to add, thank you so much for this presentation. As I watched, I was thinking, this is a great way to like link the whole idea of a TMDL, which the whole point of it is to restore eelgrass and benthic environment in a way that people can understand why a TMDL is important. So I will be in touch. Thank you very much.
Sounds great.
Okay. We say happy holidays, everybody.
yeah, Merry Christmas, everything.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Boy,
Thank you for listening to me.
yes, thank
Happy
you so much.
holidays.
for
Thank you.
being here, Allie. Wonderful.
Happy holidays. Take care.
Okay.
Yep.
Great way to close out the year. Thank you so much.
Stay
Very
warm,
inspiring.
everyone.
Bye-bye.